I like to start all my videos by letting you know what I hope you get out of the time you are investing in learning. The first goal is to simply get a better understanding of what control charts are and the circumstances in which they should be used. Because this is an overview of control charts, I won't be getting into great detail on how to create the chart. There is a lot of higher level math involved, and the assumption is that you will have some skilled professionals who can put them together. We are focusing on frontline employees and managers who will use control charts to make decisions. Some of these decisions will be influenced by something known as special cause variation. Control charts are very helpful in isolating these types of problems from the normal random fluctuations of a process. So we've talked about what a bell curve is. Now let's show how it relates to control charts. Let's take the bell curve we just talked about and turn it on its side. Now, let's put a control chart next to it. Basically, a control chart is a run chart with upper and lower control limits drawn into it. Typically, control charts are updated on a daily basis. They can be done more frequently, however. You simply add the data points each time the observation period ends. And you'll continue to do this over time. The result is similar to a run chart. The distinction from a run chart, though, is that a control chart will also have lines drawn at 1 and 2 standard deviations away from the mean. The control limits are 3 standard deviations from the mean. If you are an astute observer, you'll probably realize that this means you need to have some historical data available to compare the current data to. Essentially, this is the same as we did with the cards. We knew that our deck of cards would yield data centered around the value of 7. Similarly, there should also be an expected pattern of the data in the process we are monitoring. Now, there's some pretty daunting math that goes into calculating the standard deviation of that data. Fortunately, in practice, most people using control charts will have a tool that you enter data into, and it spits out the charts for you to monitor. Excel also has a function to calculate standard deviation. And there's even more good news. Generally, the quality or engineering team prepares the charts. Frontline team members just fill them out and monitor them. What are you monitoring for? Well, if we see a shift in the points, or an outlier as we see here, we know something is wrong. There are actually several more things to look for, as we'll talk about later. In a nutshell, when we look for those shifts and other abnormalities, we are really looking for variation, and there are 2 main types of variation. The first is common cause variation, or noise. The second is special cause variation. Common cause variation is the natural randomness of a system. If you think about an icicle dripping off the branch of a tree, there is a pattern of splashes into snow on the ground. Most will be in a fairly tight grouping directly below the tip of the icicle. The higher up in the tree, the wider the grouping will be. But over time, the pattern will stay in pretty much the same area. The minor fluctuations in the drips are not easily attributed to anything in particular. For special